So here we are, it's the 24th of January. Our trip to Frankfurt was just over a week ago now. So this is the final leg of that trip. For those of you who don't want to drag through more videos in the dark as we get more and more tired on the trip, just jump to the end and I'm going to go through all the stats on the journey, the costs and everything else. For those of you who've stuck with me, thank you very much, and also for all the subscribers who've recently come on the channel. These solar panels behind me, apparently they're going to get put up this week. We got a nice sunny, cold, frosty mornings week where we're going to add another kilowatt peak to the capacity that we've got on the barn out there. So that should be interesting, because we're actually going to hang these on the wall of the stone barn. Some friends of ours, he's a welder, and he's made some frames that are going to hang the panels in landscape mode. So I'll be doing a video on those as well, and talking generally about how we've offset the cost of running the electric car over the last almost 3 years now with solar. Anyway, so here we go with the continuation of our 1,000+ kilometer journey back from Frankfurt. So here we are on our third stop, thanks to a bit of heroic driving through mist and rain by Mrs. e-Niro.
I'm hero.
She is a hero indeed. She did about 150k. So we've done now over 525, and so this is our third stop. We were down to 29%, and it's back to the good old Ionity chargers off the motorway next to a hotel on an industrial estate. What are they doing? No one else using it. We're just using the 50 kilowatt one because it's actually cheaper per minute, because say back in France they charge per minute. So the next leg of this trip is to get to a charger just north of Orléans, which is another 206 kilometers away. And the good thing about that one is that if there's any problem with it, it's an Aviva charger, and if there's any problem with it, there's another Ionity just south of it, a few kilometers. And once we get to Orléans, we're getting more into territory that we know, not that well, but we've certainly on our way down to Tours from there, between to cover that. It's not misty anymore. We're out of the mist that was up in the hills there. It's just a bit drizzly, but it is a bit warmer. I mean, we've been averaging, well, partly thanks to Mrs. e-Niro's economic driving, we're about 18.1, 18.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is about 1.5 kilowatt hours better than we were coming over. Then again, it's a bit warmer. It's 4 or 5 degrees as opposed to 1 degree. So another 15-20 minutes at this charger. I want to leave with about 250 of range at least, and on the road again. So absolutely ridiculous place to put these chargers. There's no toilets. This looks like a restaurant that's given up in COVID times. Wasn't open when we came last week, and it's still not open. I mean, you've got to go and take a wee behind the back of the transformer over there, I suppose. It's ridiculous. So it's 9:41 at night. We've covered 736 kilometers. And everything was going so smoothly. We did 200k since the last stop at the Ionity charger just south of Troyes. It was a straight 200k run on empty roads, a little bit foggy from time to time, but just no traffic at all on it. So then we got just north of Orléans, and our plan was to stop at a services there, a Vinci services. And there's heavy roadworks, and the services are all lit up, and there's no signs saying the services were closed, but you couldn't physically get to them. They put that you just can't get off the motorway at that point. So I thought, what the hell do we do now? We're down to 16%. We had 50 kilometers of range left. Thankfully, I knew there was another Ionity charger just off the motorway, and I thought, well, we better come off anyway to find out what to do next and park up somewhere. So we came through the péage, and we're looking for this charger. Can't seem to find it anywhere on the map. Charge map saying it's not working. It's got a sort of a grey colour and a line through it, but actually there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chargers here. 5 of them are working, and we've just done the same. We've plugged into the 50 kilowatts, so we got pretty low there, and we've still got another 300k to do. So anyway, close call. So folks, it's 10 to midnight and we've done 850 kilometers. We stopped at another Ionity charger after the last mess up.
There was another mess up.
We had another mess up, and we shot past a charger because we use the. It's a bit. It's a long story, too long story, but we went past an Ionity charger that we kind of intended to stop at, but actually it turned out better to press onto this one. Arrived here with 17% state of charge. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These were one of the first Ionities to be put in, I think, in 2019, because they're an older design and they don't have the 50 kilowatt option. They're all very fast ones, which doesn't help us at all because you get charged by the minute, 79 euro cents a minute. So we're going to end up paying through the nose here, but at least we are charging at 53 kilowatts, which is the best I've ever seen on an Ionity charger in the winter. Summer 70, 75. But hey, we've gone from 17% to 35% in about 15 minutes, so that's not too bad. We have 173 kilometers still to do, so we'll get home having done about 1,040, I suppose, but I think that'll be another couple of hours yet. But I have to take it all back now because all of a sudden our charging speed has jumped to 74 kilowatts. Now bearing in mind it's 5 degrees, it's pretty nippy outside, and the only other time I've used an Ionity charger in the winter was in 2019 coming back from the UK, and it was about 9 degrees. It was just sort of rainy, horrible, a bit warmer than this. Couldn't get more than 54 out of it from a low state of charge, but here we are charging along now at 74 kilowatts. Amazing.
Woohoo!
So at this speed we could get to 80% in 30 minutes, but it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down.
We're putting on a kilometre about every 15 seconds.
So we arrived with, what was it? We had about 65 kilometres left, I think. Yeah, we're up to 150 now. So this is more like it, considering the amount of money you pay for these. Anyway, we could be away a bit sooner. 76 kilowatts. 40. Oh, this is great. Never thought I'd see this in the winter. Especially, I mean, it's pretty chilly. Look at this deserted service station. Just one lonely e-Niro, having done 850 kilometers since starting off in Frankfurt this morning. All these charging spots, and mind you, no one's buying any fossil fuels either. It's midnight, it's cold, and we're 173 kilometers from home. So it's just coming up to 1 in the morning. We've crossed the 900 kilometer mark. We started the day with a quick top-up charge to pick up some food from a supermarket. And we've had 1, 2, 3, 5 charges, and I think come to the conclusion that the journey this long, certainly in a car that can charge at the speed that the e-Niro does, is too much. Wouldn't you agree, Mrs. e-Niro?
Definitely agree, wholeheartedly. Train next time.
Well, we would have used the train anyway, but there was a lot of uncertainty around COVID and trains running, and France, like everywhere else, being overwhelmed by this Omicron variant. But I think, even though the charging speed on the e-Niro is nothing like what the newer EVs are, I think 500 kilometers, 300 miles in a day is fine. You have a couple of stops, and they're not just stops to charge. I mean, we've been sitting in the car most of the time. I mean, I would say, car's telling me I've done 10 hours and 40 minutes of driving, but I would say we've had probably 3 hours of just being plugged in. So, that's one of the times when you really are waiting for your car to charge. Most of the time you're not. Most of the time you're doing something else. But with a fossil fuel car, dare I say it, we would already be home by now. But anyway, it's been interesting. The car is smooth, it's quiet, it's comfortable. And as you can see, these busy roads, it's just, these are wonderful roads here. So another 120 to home, so about an hour and 15 minutes possibly, hour and 20, we'll be glad to get home. So we're finally home at 20 minutes past 2 in the morning. We've done 1,025.4 kilometres, and that's taken 12 hours exactly. Well, 12 hours and 1 minute of driving, and I guess we've been 16 hours actually travelling. So crazy. 29% battery left, 104 kilometres. And 18.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres today over the 1,025 kilometres. Not going to plug this in again. I've done it so many times a day, I can't be bothered. Going to go in, get a cup of tea. So finally then, to sum up what was a 5-day trip, return trip to Frankfurt, something we probably wouldn't ever tackle again. And thank you very much if you've got this far. So anyway, the stats then, we covered in 5 days 2,063 kilometres, which is 1,279 miles. We spent a lot of money on public charging. If we'd have had something like a Toyota Prius or an economical diesel, we wouldn't have spent very much more, maybe around the same actually. In fact, if it wasn't for the 2 free charges we had, we would have spent more. So what we did spend was 184 euros, and we purchased 259 kilowatts of power, okay, which is enough
to drive about 1,300, I think, of the kilometres. I'll put all the stats up at the end. But of course, we also had two free charges, one at the Fresh Mile going over, and an overnight up to 100% at the hotel we stayed in. We got 94 kilowatt hours of power on board from those two free charges. The charges we did pay for varied greatly in price. Now, obviously, in France, they still charge you by the minute. And my strategy going over was, we knew we would be using a lot of Ionity chargers going over and coming back, and they charge by the minute. So on the basis that the e-Niro can only take, at best, between 50 and, as I found out to my surprise, 75 in the winter, we thought we'd go with the slower speed charger at 50 kilowatts, because the price is about 51 cents a minute, or 51 cents a minute, as opposed to the 350 kilowatt chargers, which are like 81 cents a minute. So even so, the Ionity wasn't the most expensive charger. It was the charge we did in Germany on that Stiag charger, which was 96 euro cents a kilowatt hour. So we've got all the bills in. I've looked at the kilowatt hour prices. The Ionity charges varied between 90 cents a kilowatt hour, which tends to be when you're plugged in and you're at quite a high state of charge. You need to get that extra little bit to get the range on the gasometer that you need to do the next stage, and you're really paying through the nose at that point, because your car is then down to about 23 kilowatts charging, if you're lucky. But some of the other Ionity chargers were as cheap as 58 euro cents a kilowatt hour. Now, another one, Ionity charger, worked out across the bill as 82 cents a kilowatt hour. And then the final one we did was where the charging rate went up. I think it was about midnight when we were coming home, and that was 58. So obviously there's this balance between how fast can I charge and what am I actually paying. When you're on the road and you just want to get home on a long journey like that, you don't really worry about it so much. The two Fastned chargers in Germany, we went to one the first time at a fairly low state of charge. It doesn't matter because you're paying per kilowatt hour. It's just a question of the time it's taking, and obviously the charging speed that you get. But they were 76, 77 euro cents per kilowatt hour. The cheapest by far was that funny little charger run by EDF, a subsidiary of EDF, the French energy company. All their chargers about 18 months ago were taken out of service on the main ones. The service is called Corridor or is Visia, the different brand names. And they found a fault with the chargers and they took those out of service. About 80% of them were taken out of service. This was a Tritium branded charger. It was great. It charged quickly, consistently from, about 20%, I think 25% we arrived, and we went all the way up to about 80% on that one. And it only cost us 41 cents per kilowatt hour. So you see the charging pricing is all over the place. But still, it cost us 184 euros, and that's leaving home with 100%, although we did still have like 29% when we arrived home. So they are our costs. The efficiency side of things, well, going over there, it was into the wind. It was very, very into a headwind. It was very cold, and we only saw between 19 and 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Coming back, it was a little bit warmer. It was about 4 or 5 degrees, and we had a following wind for part of it, and we got that down to, what was it? Yeah, we got that down to about 18, but obviously still nothing like the summer range that we experience, which is more like, even on a long journey, driving fast on the motorways, is more like 15 to 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. So there we go, that's the cost. I think it shows the limitations of the car and also the capabilities. And to be quite honest, as I say, it hasn't, we tackle long journeys again, but not quite that long. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please click and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I really appreciate we've had about another 50, 60 people sign up in the last few weeks. So that's great. So take care now, and until the next time.